Well, good morning, or whatever. If it's afternoon that you're watching it, good afternoon. In any event, this is the June 24th edition of Issues That Matter, and I'm very pleased today to have KEVAN Welch on as a return guest. I give him a lot of credit for his courage to be a return guest on the show. But KEVAN, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Pleasure to see you again,
Pleasure
along
to
with
be
our
here.
virtual live studio audience. And I'm also very pleased to have Shelley Fleming Wigglesworth on, who is a local, what's the term?
Journalist.
That's it, yes. A local journalist in Kennebunkport areas. And Shelley, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
I'm pleased that you were willing to undergo the torture of being a guest co-host again. In any event, KEVAN, last time you were on the show, we talked a little bit, a lot of it, about your Vietnam experiences. What I'd like to do today is maybe talk about the after Vietnam part of your life. And I know you're very involved in various causes relative to treatment of the veterans.
Right.
I'd like to speak to you about that. But what did you do when you came back from Vietnam?
My family worked in construction for years and years, and when I came back from Vietnam, I went right to work in construction, which I probably should have rested. I wound up getting mono before it was all said and done, but because I was totally exhausted from Vietnam. But I just had to keep busy, and I just went right to work in the as a mason tender at first, and then I went. My father got me in the carpenters union, but that's basically what I did.
Now, I know you're very active in veteran affairs, you might say, today. Yeah, I know I communicate with you over the web, on Facebook.
Right.
And I give you great credit for your involvement in that area. What are the concerns that you would like to speak about today relative to the treatment of the veterans?
Just the accessibility of it, like it's almost like a systematic failure. It's hard to make the phone call and make the appointment. There's a lot of hoops to jump before you can actually get the appointment you need. And then a lot of times, like Togus is the nearest full-service VA medical facility. It's 100 miles away from where I live, and it's just it's a lot of driving, just to get back and forth to see the doctor you need to see.
Now, there is a veterans facility run by the VA, I believe in Scarborough?
There's one in Saco and there's one in Portland that I heard, they're going to merge them, from what I've heard.
Okay. What services what is the difference in the level of service provided there as opposed to Togus?
Usually the local clinics do stuff like check your blood, your cholesterol, or check your blood pressure, and just more like clinical, not major things. More complicated issues, I guess you go to Togus or another VA hospital for more major issues that say might require the sophisticated equipment that they have now, the technological equipment to do all the tests you need or whatever it is.
Now, do you think that do they have any specialists at the closer places? That's probably another thing they don't. And why don't they?
You have to schedule. You have to schedule the appointments, and it might take several months. I just saw an endocrinologist having thyroid problems, and it took me several months. To do the whole thing, it's taken me over a year. To see the right doctors, and like the doctor I saw, he told me to get a second opinion. They wanted to operate on my eyes. He said, you better get a second opinion before you do that. So I did. I wound up going to Togus, and the doctors I saw in Togus actually went to Stanford University with the doctor I saw at
wow.
Maine Eye Care, and they knew each other, and talk about a small world. But I wound up getting a little different diagnosis and a little different treatment.
Now, what do you think if you were not a vet and you were trying to seek these services? Do you think you could have received the treatment a lot faster than the year it took for you to get this?
Oh, absolutely,
treatment? Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and years ago, I'm 100% permanent and total. And years ago, I had fee basis, and I live in Porter, Maine, and I could go to the Sockopee Valley Health Center 6 miles from my house, see Dr. Ray, who's one of the best doctors I've ever seen, and the guy is outstanding. And I got excellent care there, and if I needed any major tests done or whatever, I could go to Togus or whatnot. But that was the best treatment I ever had. That was in the 90s. But then they took that away, and when they built a new clinic in Saco, they told me I could drive to Saco, which is about 43, 44 miles from my house, or I could go to the Saco River Medical Group in Conway, New Hampshire, which was affiliated with the VA, which was pretty near the same thing as the Saco River Medical Group, only through New Hampshire, the VA was paying for that in New Hampshire. And I went there for a number of years until they opened their own clinic. The VA opened their own clinic in Conway. And that worked pretty good for a number of years, and then they come out with this Veterans Choice Program, which if you live more than 40 miles from a VA facility that can treat you for your disability. When it first came out, they measured to the nearest VA facility that couldn't treat you. That was pretty much bogus. So anyway, I wanted to get treated for my eyes and stuff, and I didn't want to have to drive to Manchester, and I'm service connected. So they told me I didn't qualify in New Hampshire. So I called Jean Shaheen to see if she could help me, and she said, "You're a Maine resident. You're going to have to transfer your VA health care to Maine," which I did. So now I go to the Portland clinic, and if I have problems, I call Susan Collins' office, and I talk to this woman named Alex who's helped me out a lot. But they say it's the New England Regional Healthcare System, but it's not.
Why do you think it's so difficult to navigate through this whole bit of red tape, and what is the price that the veterans are paying by not being able to get the access to the health care that they need in a timely fashion?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's all this hoop jumping, and when you call them, the first thing they say, "Can I have the veteran's name and the veteran's social security number?" Then the second question is, "Well, how can I help you?" And then I'll say, "Well, I need to do this or I need to do that." Then they'll transfer you on to the next station or whatever, and it'll be, "Can I have the veteran's name and the veteran's social security number?" So that's twice I've given them my name, twice I've given them my social security number. And then you'll say, "I need to do this or that," and then they'll transfer you over, and then you leave a message on a message machine. So whether they call you back or not,
This is so, I'll say, typical. I recently was watching television. I won't say what channel or what network. You'll probably be able to guess once I tell you what happened. They would just finish a piece on where the director of the VA was talking about all the improvements that have been made and how good it's going and so forth and so on. And he closed by saying, "And if there's any veterans out there watching, if you have any problems or concerns, there's the number. Give me a call."
yeah.
What do you say to that? Is that really accessible for vets?
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, let me give you a clue as to how that works. So what the host of the show did, he called him.
Yeah.
And what did he get? "Mailbox is full. Please call back."
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that is, if that is typical of what the veterans are receiving, we've got some serious problems. That is known because they're supposed to be working on this to correct it.
Right.
And that speaks to a whole raft of issues, underlying issues that we are plagued with, that as long as those issues consist, and it goes well beyond the healthcare issue.
Right.
As long as those issues persist, we've got some serious problems.
What do you think is going on when people can't get the treatment that they need? Do you think people have died waiting? And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, can you talk a little about that?
Some people have just gotten so frustrated they've committed suicide, and I can tell you several instances of my friends who have died not getting treatment. One of my friends died in August from liver cancer from hepatitis C. Well, hepatitis C is curable. And they kept telling him they were going to give him the treatment, And they kept saying, Mike, you better call Senator Collins, you're running out of time. Well, long story short, he didn't call, he got liver cancer, and he's no longer with us.
That probably happens more often than...
Yeah, if they gave him the treatment, he'd be with us today. And like my friend that I was in Vietnam with, he had diabetes and his kidneys were failing, and they did a fistular operation up in White River Junction, Vermont. He lived in Vermont, and the place was dirty. He came back and wound up having a MRSA infection that went through his body. It just bloated him right up, and his wife called up there and they said, well, what's his temperature? And it was 100.5. And they says, well, we'll bring him up here when it hits 101. Well, it was too late then. They brought him up there at 101. He died a few days later.
Oh my God.
And that was all from an infection that he got at the VA hospital. You know.
Now, when we were discussing this earlier, you mentioned the condition that existed relative to that hospital.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about
Well,
that?
his wife wanted to use the bathroom. She went in the bathroom. There was a louver in there, and it was just right full of mold and stuff. She sent me pictures that I was going to copy, but just to show you how bad it was. You know, it was the place was it was deplorable. You know, they should hire some people to keep the place clean. And there's one thing I want to point out is, most of the VA doctors, or a lot of the people that work for the VA, are former veterans. They are veterans, and they care about veterans a lot, and they're good people. But they're put into a situation where they do the best job they can, but they don't have the conditions that they need.
Their hands are tied.
Their hands are tied.
It almost sounds like they're doctors and they're functioning under the same conditions that you might see in the show MASH.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that bad, but it's, you know,
Their hands are tied.
Their hands are tied. And every hospital is different, too. There's no two of them are the same. I've been to a number of them.
Sanitation should be the absolute minimum,
Absolutely, yeah. The sanitation should be there.
Top priority, yeah.
It's not in a lot of them.
And it's probably the easiest one to address, too.
Right. But I mean, we've seen that right at Maine Med, right at the local. I think that's common in a lot of hospitals.
Yeah.
And of course, hospitals have more disease than on the outside because people are there because they're sick in the first place. So you got to really be vigilant on keeping the place, you know, sanitized, clean.
Yep. What do you do these days, other than your activism on behalf of the veterans groups?
Just ride motorcycles and do some gardening and go on adventures and just I've helped out a lot of my vet friends over the years. Most of them are gone now. For a number of years, I'd go over and help my friend over in Meredith, New Hampshire, who was very sick with staph infection and stuff he got in Vietnam, and I just try to keep myself busy, that's all.
What do you think we can do as citizens, civilians, to help vets or to try to help them get the faster medical care that they need, or to have their issues put out there and put on the forefront and addressed? What can just the average Joe do to help vets with all of that?
Geez, that's a good question. I guess maybe call your congressman and maybe have them allocate or restructure the VA healthcare system so it's more readily accessible. And one of the problems I have is what you just pointed out, Bob, is nobody answers the telephone.
Yeah.
They can spend, what, $3.3 billion on a new destroyer up in, the one they just launched up in Bath. Well, why can't they hire a few people to answer the telephone? You know, that's not that difficult. And I know, like something I'm working on right now, I'm 100% for PTSD, and I've been seeing Marty Burgess right here in Biddeford for 13 years, and the VA paid him for probably 10 and a half years or more, but then they made the paperwork so difficult. you know, we had to fill out all this treatment plan every so many months, and it was just it made it so difficult. He finally says, "The hell with it, I'll see you for free." So he's been seeing me for 2 years for free.
Wow.
So I feel bad about this. So I called Senator Collins' office and called the VA, and the VA says, "Yes, you are approved for the treatment. It's all taken care of. I just have to make connections with some guy in Boston." Boston is running this, right? So the guys called me from Boston a couple times to ask me questions, but of course I'm never there. He leaves a message on my answer phone. I try to call him back. Nobody answers the phone. You can't talk to anybody. So this is just going on and on and on and not resolved. So I called Olympia Snow's office and talked to Alex up in Lewiston, and she said that we have an office in Biddeford. Call down there and have Marty call the office in Biddeford, and we'll see if we can get this straightened out.
Okay, now, did you call Olympia Snow's office?
Susan Collins.
Susan Collins,
Yeah.
all right.
Olympia Snow is who I used to see.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
she
just
was
mentioned Olympia Snow again.
I
I understand.
I saw her for years and years. Linda Lyon was her aide, and she was awesome. And then when she got out of the Senate, I went to Susan Collins because my experience dealing with the VA is if you have a congressman, or especially a senator, because they're in there usually for a longer period of time, they have more clout and they can get stuff done. If you call a veterans advocate up to Togus, which I do, it's almost like I'm putting them out to help me or something, you know? And they just never return your call.
Well, I've dealt on the MS issue. I've communicated with Alex, Ms. Wagner,
Yeah.
and she's been very, very helpful.
Yeah.
I've been trying to set up a in-district meeting with them, and so we're talking to the same people.
Right.
It's interesting, the same people are the helpful people and the same people are not so helpful, and you know, you can kind of see that.
Yeah. It seems to me it could be simplified.
Right,
You
simplified.
know,
Simplified,
and they could just have some people answer the phones and make the appointments and just make it more accommodating. That's all.
I think there's an unwritten rule that says if it's government related, it cannot be simplified.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really.
jeez.
Nothing happens simply with government.
Right. This is true.
So where do you see yourself going off into the future?
Just trying to deal with the healthcare system and trying to make things better and make the treatment more accessible for our Iraqi and Afghanistan vets. And like I said, it was better. It went from good, like in the 90s, it was really good. You know, and that's when I said I had the fee basis and all that. And then I guess maybe because we've been in so many wars and there's so many veterans now and they're spread so thin that they just can't take care of us all. I know I went up to Togus a few weeks ago for a hearing test, and we had a hard time to find a place to park. You know, and that's a huge campus. Togus is a huge campus. We had to park way on the other side. There was so many cars here. That just goes to show you how busy the place was. You know, and it's...
Now, can the overflow ever be absorbed into just hospitals and other clinics, or is that what vets want, and is that what they're trying to do?
That's what the Veterans Choice Program is all about.
Yeah, but it's not.
The problem with that is it's the same thing. Nobody answers the phone, and you got to do all this hoop jumping and make connections, and then on top of it all, they don't pay the bill.
Yeah.
And when they don't pay the bill, that goes back to the veteran and can ruin the veteran's credit rating, which has happened to a lot of veterans. You know, and then I got a bill from a collection agency from Maine Med after using the Veterans Choice. They didn't pay the bill, and now they're going to send a collection agency after me.
Oh my gosh.
So then I send the bill to Alex up to Susan Collins and hope that she can take care of that. But this is what you deal with.
One does not think, at least I don't think, of Susan Collins' office being involved in situations where they have to arrange for paying a bill. I mean,
They do.
That seems to be something pretty simple.
I copy bills all the time, mail them right up there, and let them take care of it.
But it's just so counterproductive for the system to work this way because it puts more stress on veterans who have, a lot of them are dealing with, obviously if they're in the medical system like this, they have so much going on too. And then this additional stress of jumping through the hoops and not getting the treatment and, not having it paid for. I mean, just what else can you do?
Yeah, it makes your PTSD
Yes,
get
that's what I
worse.
meant, yeah.
It exacerbates, it stresses you out. And a lot of times I'll walk into the clinic or whatever, they'll check my blood pressure, it'll be 145. Geez, you got high blood pressure. And it's not, I don't have high blood pressure, it's the anxiety from
Yeah.
going into this place. Because I went to the Sockeye Valley Health Center the other day, it was 75 over something, because I just felt so relaxed there.
Maybe they're trying to develop another hoop. You talk about PTSD,
Yeah.
post-traumatic stress.
Right.
Maybe they're trying to develop a present traumatic stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to keep it going, I guess. I don't know.
What would be, with your experiences, and I give you great credit because you're staying involved. That's a wonderful thing. And
You're a voice for so many.
Yeah. You've helped, I'm sure you've helped a good number of people, both on an individual as well as a group basis. And I've seen some of your posts on Facebook, and they're always, and one of the qualities that I very much respect about you is that you are someone that can understand other people's perspectives.
Right.
You are someone who is easily able to walk away from a conversation agreeing to disagree.
Right.
And that's a quality that is so much lacking in our society today.
You have to be respectful. I mean, I might not agree with how you think or how you believe, but I can respect that, this is what you believe, and that's what we need to do, is we need to be more respectful of each other.
Yep. And some of the comments that you make on Facebook, many of them I very much agree with.
Yeah.
Some of them I very much disagree with, but you've always presented your position. You've always presented yourself in a fashion that would be difficult for a rational person to not be respectful, and that speaks a lot about the quality of the individual, as I see it. So take that as a compliment.
Well, thank you. I just treat others like I want to be treated myself.
What would be the top one or two things that you would like to see take place? Changes that you would like to see take place
In the VA?
in the VA?
I'd like to see just the whole thing be more accessible. In the Veterans Choice Program, the concept of it, I think, is pretty good. They just need to get the bugs ironed out. So it's just more accessible, and you don't have to jump through all these hoops to get the treatment you need. I like going to Maine Med. I had a nuclear stress test and all the state-of-the-art equipment and stuff. He says, wow, this is pretty cool,
I took a tour of the Cancer Care Center in York County in Sanford a week ago, and they just underwent a very significant updating of their equipment. I walked in, I felt like I was in Star Wars.
Yeah, the technology they have now is amazing, and I think the veterans ought to have the same technological treatment as say a civilian, with a premium health care plan or something.
It strikes me under that care program that you talked about. Why can't a veteran go into a facility such as the facility in Sanford or the facility that we now have in Kennebunk, which is cancer related? Why can't a veteran go into that and just have it be covered by the Veterans Association, by the VA?
You have to ask them. That's a good question. I'm wondering the same thing. And like I said, we used to have the fee basis. You could call up and say, I want to do this or want to do that, and then they'd have to give you the okay to get the treatment. But now, I call fee basis. Now I got to deal with some guy in Boston I can't even talk to. They made it go from hard to impossible. And it's like they really don't want to treat us when they see actions like that.
It almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost sounds like they they're telling you that they developed this new program that'll make things much easier for you. But then when you go to use the program, you find out that it's a facade.
Yeah,
It's just something that they talk about, but they don't really carry it out.
right. I did get some, like I said, I went to Maine Med and I got some really good diagnosis, and it was awesome. It's like, geez, I wish it could be like this all the time. It's just,
But then they don't pay for it.
yeah, well, that was the problem. And that could have been part of Maine Med's problem too, because I told the people, see, you go in there, I'm 66 years old, I got Medicare. So the first thing they want to do is bill Medicare. And I told them, don't bill Medicare. The VA is paying for this on Veterans Choice. But evidently they didn't hear me, or the VA didn't pay in a timely fashion, I don't know. But a month or so later, I get a bill from Maine Med saying that I owe, that Medicare paid this much and I owe this much on the balance. And it was supposed to be Veterans Choice is paying for this. You know, so I called them up and told them at Maine Med, and we're still working on it. I don't know what's going on. But like I said, this could affect your credit rating. You know, I could get my credit rating, get a bad credit report because I'm not paying my bills when you know, that's not right.
And the reason you're not paying your bill is because it was supposed to be paid by the VA.
Exactly.
And it gets lost in the shuffle.
And it's happened so much. They even have a phone number, the VA does, that you can call to try to get them to straighten the bills out. And when you call Veterans Choice, there's a recording on there that tells you, we do not take care of bills. If you're having a billing problem, we give you another number to call. So it's so common.
What do you think this has done to the morale of vets that have to navigate this complicated system?
A lot of them just give up, you know, and they don't get the treatment they need, and they, you know, get sicker or die or whatever. I was just talking to a guy yesterday about that, and you know, he says it just stresses the hell out of them. You know, it shouldn't be like that. It should be, you know. And another problem that we have in the local care is they don't have a walk-in clinic. Now, I'll tell you, for instance, I got a tick bite. It got infected a few weeks ago, getting all festered. So I called up Portland. I need to see somebody down here. I got an infected tick bite. And the physician's assistant that I see down there, he only comes in on a Monday and a Friday. This was a Tuesday. I needed treatment immediately. And I says, well, can I come down there and have a doctor or someone see me? No, we don't do that. You got to drive to Togus. And I says, well, Togus is 100 miles away one way. Well, that's your problem.
Wow.
So in the meantime, I called up Togus and I talked to the veterans advocate, and she didn't really want to help me too much. And I says, well, maybe fee basis, can you put me over there? So I finally got someone over there, and I says, well, I have this infection. And I used to go to the Sockopee Valley Health Center years ago, and could I go there and have it treated? And they says, well, we'll go there and have them send us the bill, and we'll decide whether we're going to pay it or not. That's the answer I got. So anyway, I went to the Sockopee Valley Health Center, and it was all infected, and got a prescription for antibiotics. So then I go to the local pharmacy to get my prescription filled, and I have to use my wife's CHAMP VA card, because as a disabled veteran, we don't get any pharmacy card or nothing. But my wife, being a wife of a disabled veteran, she has health care through CHAMP VA, and she has a prescription card. So I have to use her card to get my prescription filled. You know, I mean.
Why?
That's how it is.
Why? That's a simple question.
That's a common sense thing, you know. Why don't we all have a prescription card? You know, set up a program so we can have a prescription filled if we want to.
Well, I hope that somebody in the system is watching this show.
I hope so,
will
too.
watch it, or you know, do something.
Or
with it.
reading
It's
the
gonna get in
paper.
right-
Well,
yeah.
the last show that we did, I sent a DVD to Alex at Susan Collins, and she really thought it was good, and I've shared it around a little
Maybe
bit.
that's why she's being so so nice.
Maybe.
She saw my show.
Could
Well, I
be.
think it's good to get this stuff out here and have it out for the audience, the television audience, the YouTube audience, hopefully, and on DVD. So maybe with us asking you these questions and you getting, actually giving us examples of what you have to go through. That sounds like a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
Just to deal with your VA, what you're entitled to.
But it's all the places aren't like that.
Right.
I can give you a couple of other, for instances. I was up in Alaska. I got a bad ear infection. I went to Fort Wainwright in Fairbanks, and they said, "Do you want to see a civilian or a military doctor?" And I said, "I'll see a military." Took me right in. She says, "Yeah, you got a bad ear infection." Prescribed a Z-Pack, actually a double Z-Pack. She said, "Do a Z-Pack, wait a week and do another one." That's how bad my infection was. But they took me in immediately, examined me, and filled a prescription immediately, which was awesome.
So you think it's state by state, it can vary, and
It's
facility
state
by
by state,
facility?
or I'm thinking if you're near a military facility, you're going to get better treatment
Yeah.
because they don't want the troops to see, this is how you're going to be treated as a veteran when you get out. We're going to, and the same deal. I went to Hawaii. I'm flying over there to visit some friends in the Big Island, and my chin is itching like hell. What's going on here? So I go to the clinic in Hilo, Hawaii. The doctor says, "You have shingles." Writes me up a prescription. I go to the local pharmacy in Hilo, Hawaii, just a regular pharmacy. They had the prescription all waiting for me. I'd say within 3 or 4 days it was under
Wow.
control. But that's how it should be.
And if it's being done and it's that way in other places, there's no reason why it can't be done that way if they wanted to.
Right. In some of these, the bigger cities, say like for Phoenix, Arizona, we have a friend that lives down there. They have a hard time getting any treatment at all down there because there's just so many vets that
Wow.
they can't handle it. So every place you go, it's different. Manchester, I went to Manchester for years. It's a small facility, but I got really good care there. I really like going to Manchester. But like I said, I couldn't use the other programs because I'm a resident of Maine. So
It's I don't know. I can't. It's such a tangled web.
it is. It's.
But I'm very pleased to hear that
Yeah, there are some good places.
you have contact with Susan Collins' office, and Susan Collins, who's from everything I've experienced, very, very cooperative
Yeah.
with the local.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. No, her office has done a great job, and like I said, years before Olympia Snow, same thing. They were awesome. Help you out. Whenever you had problems, and
Have you had any experiences with Senator King's office?
I did. I went to fee basis through Manchester. I was when I went to the clinic in Conway, I was having chest problems. I wound up. I can't remember what I had. It wasn't pneumonia, but something like that. And so they sent me fee basis to Memorial in North Conway to get a chest X-ray and all that. And then a month or so later, I get the bill. They didn't pay the bill. So I called Senator King's office, and they set me up with an aide up in Presque Isle, Maine. Well, Presque Isle, Maine's a little far away, And anyway, I sent them the bill, and I don't know if it got paid or not. I haven't heard back, so I guess it did get paid. But it's just, it could have been, they could have wrote me a letter saying they paid the bill or done something, but.
Well, that speaks to a larger issue, and that's the ability for the senator to communicate. Obviously, Senator Collins' system does a much better job in communicating back.
Well, I figure Senator Collins has been around for a number of years, and she's pretty well organized and got a good bunch of people working for her, where Angus King was relatively new at it, and his people didn't seem to have the expertise or experience that Susan.
How about our local reps, such as Shelley Pingree?
I haven't really. Years ago, I dealt with who was the governor, Baldacci, when he became congressman.
Yep.
I wrote him. Actually, I wrote him for a friend who was trying to get a disability, who hadn't had much luck in it. So I wrote a letter for him, and he wound up, he got 100%. But that's about the only other outside congressman. Years ago, when I was in Vietnam, I didn't get paid for the first 2.5 months I was in country because I got sent TDY from the 4th Infantry to the 116th Combat Engineers, and my records never followed, so I didn't get paid. And this went on for month after month. And finally, it was Bill Hathaway was a senator back then. And I called his office, and sure enough, I'd say within a couple of weeks, it got back through channels to send me to Cameron Bay and get my money. So it helped, you know, and I knew right then and there that if I really need to get some help, the best way is through a United States senator. They seem to have the most clout. So
I wonder if the senators, they seem to be the people that are working for you, but if the people in the VA facilities or the hoops that you do have to jump through, all of those people, I mean, I guess I would like to ask them, how would you feel if you had an infection and they said, oh, no, you got to wait until Friday? Or if you had a high fever and you had this and stuff going on and they said, well, when it gets higher, come in. Would you want to be treated that way through your health care plan? You know, I mean, if people could just, unless it happens to you, you don't know, you know.
Right.
The thought just occurred to me that maybe, you know, the question that was bouncing around in the caverns of my mind was, why don't they just have the ability to go into any hospital, get treated, and have the bill paid, have the bill sent to the VA?
The fact that you're a veteran
And then,
should
well,
just say, I'm a vet.
I already have that figured out, because the VA has a very bad credit rating. Sending the bill to the VA does not give them any kind of confidence that the bill's going to be paid.
Right.
So the vet suffers again because
Yeah, right. It all goes back.
the vet
to
pays
problem.
again.
It becomes the vet's problem, and
Right.
that's the problem that the vet should not have.
Right.
And when a person risks their life to defend this country, then this country and the ensuing governments have a civil, humanitarian responsibility to take care of that veteran.
An obligation.
An obligation, yes.
That they're
and
not
it's an obligation that,
fulfilling, it seems,
that they are not fulfilling.
Right. They're not. No.
And how many vets are going to die waiting? That's just
Well, what's it? 22 a day.
that's really the key issue out there. Who, you know, if you're in a position and you're watching this right now, don't make our vets wait. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the only thing that we can do, we being the general population, is to, if you're not involved, if you're not communicating with your senator and your representative, then start communicating with them and start telling them, get this taken care of.
Right.
Address this issue. The welfare of our veterans, the people who have risked their lives and given their arms and limbs and everything else to the effort, deserve at least that.
Yeah. Just, you know, give us some decent medical care. That's all.
Yeah.
And
Well, you just answered my closing question. my closing question was going to be, what would you want to be the takeaway? And I started it, and you answered it. That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Well, I think we are running up against a time clock. So I want to sincerely thank you. Number one, thank you for your service.
well, thank you, Bob.
And number two, you were a great guest the first time I had you on with Shelley as a guest co-host. And you were a great guest the second time I had you on with Shelley as a guest co-host.
Great.
Now, what I have to figure out is, why is he a guest when we have Shelley as a great co-host? Makes one wonder. But thank you very much, Kevin.
No, you're welcome, Bob.
And I want you to use this show as if you have issues that you would like to have addressed, you have my number.
Use it as a tool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That's the ultimate goal, is just to make things right. That's
Yep.
all. We need to make, like you said, we served our country, and we expect the promise to be kept.
That's right.
And
That's right. And to a degree, it's our responsibility as citizens of this country, the beneficiaries of your service. it's just as much our responsibility to see that this is taken care of as it is the people that you call up in Togus or wherever you happen to be calling, their responsibility. We're the ones that have to insist that this be done.
Right.
And we can't do it by just sitting back and saying, well, it'll be taken care of. Well, clearly it's not going to be taken care of unless we persist in insisting that it do be taken care of. And keeping in mind all this when you go in to pull the lever or mark the box off on your voting thing, keep in mind, what is this candidate, what have they done for the veterans, and what do I think they're going to be doing in the future for the veterans? Have that be a significant part of your electoral decision.
Right.
Would you agree?
I agree, yeah.
But it's got to be more than lip service. It's got to be
Yep,
actual deeds. What have you really done? Not what you tell us you're
Say
going
you're
to do,
gonna
but
do,
what you
yeah.
really have done.
And I want to give Senator Collins and Senator Collins' office a kudo
Yeah.
for being as helpful to you and other veterans as they have been. I think that's a major plus.
Says a lot for her office and her staff and everything. They're good people.
Now, I hope Alex sees this show too.
Yeah, she will. I'll send her a copy of the DVD.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much for coming on again. I sincerely appreciate it, and I look forward to future shows. And maybe we can have a show with you as a guest when we talk about motorsports.
Yeah, we could.
Shelley, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
It was a pleasure having you
My
on as a
pleasure.
co-host. And I look forward to having you on
Thank
as
you.
a co-host in the future.
I will.
Like we said, we can work in concert here. This is
Deal,
good. I like
deal.
this. And I want to extend my appreciation to our live studio audience. She has remarkable ability. She can clap her hands and have it be silent.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you found it informative. And we have some excellent shows coming up relative to human trafficking on July 5th, and then again on July 13th. We'll be filming those shows, and so tune in then, and because human trafficking is an issue that we need to be aware of, and it strikes me that we have a lot of issues that we need to be aware of, and to have that awareness is important. In the event, in any event, have a great day. I think it is a beautiful day. I don't know why they don't build studios with windows. But have a great day. Enjoy yourself, enjoy life, and simplify your life. Bye-bye.